Hello, family. Welcome to the Purpose Defined podcast. I'm your host, Hanari Magi. Thank you so much for joining us from wherever you are tuning in from, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to various platforms, podcast platforms. And about today's episode is it's going to be about what do you have in your hands? How can we be able to use the available resources so that you can be able to tap into our purpose? And before that, let me just give you a quick recap of what we did in the last episode. So the last episode was about tapping into your purpose through power, intuition, grace, and prayer. And we say that purpose is something that you love. Purpose is something that is within you. Yes, you can get tired, but it never drains you. And if you are in a journey towards discovering your purpose, all you need to do is to tap into your intuition. Your intuition guides you to know if you are in the right path or if you're doing the right thing. And when you learn to tap into your intuition, you become powerful. And when you are powerful, you're able to make the right choices. And of course, I've not promised you that it's going to be an easy journey. There comes the concept of grace, and we say that grace is that kind voice. You remember, when that time you feel like you're low, you're stressed out, and then a voice comes and tells you, it's gonna be okay, and then it goes away. It doesn't explain anything. That is grace. When maybe you are in a heat of argument with someone, and then you want to say something mean to them, and something holds you back, and that is grace. And of course, in this journey, we need something that can strengthen us, and that is prayer. Prayer will guide you. Prayer will protect you. Prayer will strengthen you. So I'm not gonna dive deeper into that. So go and listen or watch the first episode so that at least you can be in sync together. So it's time to dive into our topic of today, and that is what do you have in your hands, or in other words, how to use the available resources you have to get started or continue with your journey. And this is not for a person who wants to start. It's also for a person who maybe along the journey they kind of lost hope, or they felt like they are lacking resources towards pursuing their purpose. And I'm going to be using a few scripture reference, and our main one will be from the book of 2 Kings, and that is the story of Elisha and the widow. So let me just read it for you so that at least we can be able to interpret it and just see how it comes in. So in that story from 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1, it says, "The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, 'Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditor is coming to take my 2 boys as his slave.'" By the way, this is from the NIV, the New International Version. Verse 2 says, "Elisha replied to her, 'How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?' 'Your servant has nothing there at all,' she said, 'except a little oil.'" Verses 3, Elisha said, "Go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few." Verses 4 says that, "Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil into all the jars, and as each is filled, put it to one side." She left him and afterward shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her and she kept pouring. Verse 6 says, when all the jars were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another one." But he replied, "There is no a jar left." Then the oil stopped flowing. And then lastly, verse 7 says, she went and told the man of God, and he said, "Go sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what is left." So it is evident from that story of the widow, when she approaches, she has just lost the husband, and the creditors were like pursuing her, and of course she was scared because when she fails to pay the creditors, her sons will be taken away as slaves. And as a mother, we wouldn't want that to happen to our kids. So she pursues the man of God, and the first thing the man of God asks is, "What do you have?" And this really reminds us that we should not be like, we should should not be tempted to belittle what we have. Like, maybe if it was for me, I could just say I have nothing in the house. But for her, she remembered that she has a jar of oil, and through that she was able to be instructed on what to do. So this, and then another thing that I've learned from that scripture is that God instructs you. He doesn't like just shows you the way, then he leaves you hanging. What he does, he goes ahead and tell you how to do it. And just allow me just to go to the first point, using what you have to go to get to where you need or what you need. In my context or in my stories, that when I was starting content creation, I just used what I had, and that at that point and until now, it was my phone and the natural light. I didn't look to see, maybe I don't have those lights that I can be able to make it look glamorous. I used to just sit, I don't know even how to explain this, but just beside my window, and then I could just wake up early, at least at 9 a.m. the sun is good and the kids are not out there playing, making noise, and I could just sit and record. Even if you look at my older videos on YouTube, YouTube is Maggie Hanari. If you go there and look at my older videos, you'll be able to see the contracts as from then and for now. So this is just to encourage you. If you want to sing, you don't have to have that song like that voice like Jay-Z or Beyonce to be able to sing. Just sing with that particular voice you have. If you want to do gardening, if you want to venture into agriculture, you don't need a huge piece of land. All you need is to just start a small garden, and before you know it, it will flourish. So back to the point number 2, where I was telling you about God giving you instruction. This really reminds me of the importance of obedience, because the woman didn't ask, like, how can a jar of olive oil be able to pay my debts and at the same time be able to feed my son? So she obeyed, and with that, as she obeyed it and was able to be instructed on what she will do, she was able to fill different jars and just get to sell them and pay the debtors. Another thing that I learned is don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, the prophet told her that she should go to her neighbor's house to borrow the jar. So this reminds us that you shouldn't be afraid of seeking help. God didn't create you here in this world to suffer alone. And remember, and this reminds me that most of the times when we are faced with tough situations or circumstances, we tend to isolate ourselves, and that is where the enemy thrives, in isolation. You find yourself depressed, stressed, or sometimes committing suicide. So don't be scared of asking for help, that, oh my God, I'm going to ask them for help and then they're going to gossip about me. That is not your problem. We were created here together to be able to be there for one another. So make sure whenever you feel like you don't have the adequate resources to be able to pursue your purpose, or there is something that you're missing out, please seek help. And then another thing that I learned from here is that even in the midst of your own problems, you are the solution. Sometimes we tend to think a solution will come from far away. Maybe somebody has to come. But what we don't know is that the solution is within us. Like the woman, the widow, she had the jar of olive oil. That jar of olive oil was the one that was able to do what was able to help her escape or go through what she was going through. And of course, it's good for us to believe that little resource that we have right now is the one that will be used to escalate or take us to the next level. Because even as the story ends, we are told that when the woman went to Elijah and to Elisha, and I hope I've been saying Elisha, it's not Elijah, it's Elisha, and she told her that the oil, she told her what? There is no jar left. So the man of God told her to go sell those ones so that she can be able to pay for her debts, and also to her and her sons will survive on what is left. This meant that this woman, she ventured into entrepreneurship. She continued with that she had. She continued selling the olive oil, and maybe she and her son never went to a point of lack. And of course, the stories goes on. And we have also Jesus changing water into wine at the wedding, because I think the wine was over. And another example is Moses, when he has saved the Israelites from Egypt, and then they were being pursued by those men, by Pharaoh. Moses used what he had to be able to part the Red Sea so that they could be able to cross. And then we have the story of David killing Goliath with just a stone and a sling. So never ever get into that place where you belittle the things you have, or you just stop doing and just waiting for things to be done. Maybe you want to start a business, all you need, then you're just there waiting for that huge capital. You just need to start where you are. God meets us there. And this reminds me there's this worship song from Elevation. It's called Here Again. And the lyrics says that, from the beginning of the lyrics, it says, I cannot go back to the beginning. I cannot control what tomorrow may bring, but here in the middle is a place where you promise to be. So God comes to meet us. So don't just stay there. You have the option. Ask God, I am confused. I don't know what is the next, or I don't know how to start this or the steps to take. He will guide you to be able to see, to open your eyes to the available resources that you have to get you started. And remember, that when you're doing something, make sure those people that are around you, they know what you're doing. If you're a content creator or if you're good in accounts, make sure when you go to places, introduce yourself with your brand, because if you cannot sell something to your neighbors, you cannot sell to the world. How are we supposed to know that you such a talent or a skill exists in you when you don't open up, or you are scared, or you feel like you need the right time? There is no right time. There is not the right platform. Even as I record this podcast, it's only a few days to October. So don't feel like in 2022 I had so many goals and right now the year is coming to an end. No, I will just start next year. No, you need to start today. And as I always tell you, that the only thing you need to get through is today, not tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Once you start thinking about, I have this big vision, how will it be tomorrow? That is not your problem. For you is to start and to believe in yourself, and to be able to pray and ask God for guidance. These things, I just feel like sometimes we as human beings kind of put a lot of burden to ourselves, trying to fix things, focusing on tomorrow. Just focus on today. Trust me, just focus on today, and everything, guys, is gonna be okay. So we have come to the end of today's episode, guys, and for those of you listening from podcast platforms, you can always find me on YouTube at Maggie Hanari. The content is here still the same, so that at least you can get to know who is this lady behind this voice. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for our production crew, our camera person, Kush, our sound assistant, Mike, and of course, Akwit, for making this production a success. So I will see you in my next episode. And guys, I think this is the second season, by the way. We have the first season. I didn't say it when I was starting this. I think I was just excited. So this is the second season, and here it will be about tapping into your purpose. The first season, it was all about navigating into your purpose, but this is season 2, tapping into your purpose. So follow us on our social media handles. That is Instagram, The Purpose Defined Podcast. Same applies to all social media platforms. I'll see you in my next episode. Ciao. My name is Maggie Hanari.